Hello and welcome. This is from the CBN. We bring to you weekly reports and expert analysis of the actions, policies, and economic initiatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. I'm Williamisi Dada. A well-built infrastructure system comprising hard infrastructure such as roads and ports and soft infrastructure such as broadband penetration can have a multiplier effect on growth by enabling expansion of business activities in the country. That was contained in the address of the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, to bankers at their annual dinner about a year and a half ago in Lagos. While informing them that President Muhammadu Buhari had given approval for the establishment of an infrastructure company, Infraco, he noted that alternative ways of funding infrastructure are critical for sustained economic growth and that a well-structured infrastructure fund can act as a catalyst for growth in the medium to long term. Now, the exciting news is that Infraco has been officially declared open for business as the signing of the term sheet with independent asset managers took place in Lagos last Friday. We have details of that in today's package, plus excerpt of the colloquium at the recently held Central Bank of Nigeria's Seminar for Finance Correspondents and Business Editors in Akure as part of its capacity building efforts. Stay tuned, we'll be back after this break.
If someone calls or sends you a message that you have payment issues with your bank and requests that you reveal sensitive information, end the call and don't click. It might just be a scam. No bank will ever ask you for your personal identification number, PIN, mobile banking password, or your card verification code, CVC. Scammers always sound genuine, but don't fall for their bait. Don't respond to phony emails or SMS, and don't click on any dubious links. Even if the other party calls your date of birth or your BVN, don't give them your security details. If you suspect there's an issue with your account, the safest thing to do is go to your bank or call the number provided by your bank directly. Protect your bank details so no one steals your money. This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN.
Friday, April the 8th, marked a major milestone for infrastructure development in the country as the Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria, Infraco, and the infrastructure asset managers, namely AAA Consortium, Chapel Hill Denham, Africa Infrastructure Investment Managers, and Sanlam Infraworks concluded their initial discussions on how to operate together to deliver infrastructure to Nigeria. The climax of these initial discussions between Infraco and the asset managers was the signing of term sheet by representatives of all the parties involved in the presence of the promoters of the company, that is Central Bank of Nigeria, Africa Finance Corporation, and Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, and the company's board members at the Lagos office of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Get ready. Infraco's core mandate is to tackle Nigeria's infrastructure deficit and generate a growth multiplier effect across critical sectors. By supporting project development, financial structuring, and private capital mobilization, Infraco will help to combat issues of underemployment and underinvestment in critical nation-building assets. CBN Governor Mr. Godwin Emefiele, who is also the chairman of the corporation, congratulated the Foundation Chief Executive Officer of Infraco, Dr. Lazarus Angbazo, on his appointment and gave an update of the journey so far for the benefit of all in attendance.
Early in 2019, after the signing of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, Mr. President issued a challenge to the banking and finance sector. He challenged us to partner with him in his infrastructure transformation agenda to deliver the foundation of national assets for sustainable economic growth. No sooner was the challenge accepted than the extraordinary events of 2020 took a hold over our individual, national, and global lives. During 2020, we were reminded of national self-interest. Across the globe, shortfalls in critical economic sectors became national security issues. With no access to foreign manufactured drugs, vaccines, and hospitals, Nigerians' health will be determined solely by Nigerians. The gospel of globalization went untold and unheard. as it was every country for itself. However, Nigeria did not panic, and it is here that we may find a lesson. After consultations and engagements, private sector operators joined together to support the federal government, forming the Coalition Against COVID-19 (COVID) by procuring equipment and materials, establishing health and testing centers, and securing and storing critical food supplies. The impact of the virus on our economy and society was significantly reduced. It was an unexpected and unique cooperation between Nigerian public and private sectors to provide a local solution to a global problem.
Mr. Emefiele said that collaboration between public and private sectors can solve many of the complex socio-economic problems facing the nation, from public health, climate change, and the energy transition to infrastructure and beyond. He believed the private sector, correctly incentivized, can deploy the critical resources and deliver successfully.
Now, returning to Mr. President's challenge, I presented my memo on the infrastructure infracore concept to His Excellency on May 7, 2020, and he graciously gave his approval on July 1, 2020, for His Excellency Mr. Vice President to chair the Infrastructure Finance Project Steering Committee to develop the concept. Since that day, the promoters, here I'm talking of the CBN, AFC, and NSIA, have worked assiduously with the transaction advisor, KPMG, and the legal advisors, Kena Partners, Olanewu Ajayi, and Okiri and Lijadu, to deliver Infracore as a catalyst to accelerate public-private solutions for infrastructure in Nigeria. For infrastructure projects originated by the public sector, Infracorp's goal is to shape projects for private sector financing and management. For projects originated by the private sector, Infracorp will help shape government policy to support and sustain private sector investments. Today marks a major milestone as Infracorp and infrastructure asset managers. Here we're talking of the AAA Consortium, Chapel Hill Denham, African Infrastructure Investment Managers here in Nigeria, and Salam InfraWorks have concluded the initial discussions on how they will operate together to deliver infrastructure to Nigeria, to the nations, to Nigeria. However, as global trade networks retreat and agreements fail, Africa moves against the trend, providing opportunities to companies in Nigeria. For Nigerian companies to focus successfully on their competencies, they need to be assured of the infrastructure that they rely upon. The deficit may be large. However, with resources from private sector, targeted incentives from the public sector, and the drive of our individual citizens, I strongly believe that Nigeria will be ready, willing, and able to deliver the infrastructure that will be the foundation of our development in Nigeria. Let me emphasize that today is a very, very important day. We have worked now for almost 18 months trying to put this together. I am happy that we have reached a stage where today we are signing the term sheet between Infracore and our 4 asset managers. What is the purpose? The first phase, because I like to regard it as a first phase, the first phase of this financing is to raise 14 trillion naira debt plus 1 trillion naira equity, which is being contributed by the CBN, AFC, and NSIA. Upon signing the term sheet today, we will go straight into execution mode, because Nigeria very badly and dearly needs to develop its infrastructure. There are infrastructure deficits in the public sector, there are infrastructure deficits in the private sector, and we would like to be seen that we played our part at this time to support the efforts of not just the government but also private sector in seeing to whatever can be done to develop the infrastructure of Nigeria. We are determined to do this because we all travel to different parts of the world. We see the state of the development of the infrastructure. And indeed, most of the developing countries that would like to compare ourselves with also have some sort of our own type of infrastructure. And that is why they have moved very aggressively in the development infrastructure of those countries. And we are determined to see to that, to reiterate that from today, Infracore is open for business.
Infracore CEO Dr. Angbazo emphasized the mission of the company to become a world-class infrastructure development and investment vehicle that is focused on providing debt and equity capital from both local and international sources for the development and the operationalization of the infrastructure that Nigeria deserves.
Now, the specific mission of Infracorp is to harness opportunities for infrastructure development in Nigeria by originating, structuring, executing, and managing end-to-end bankable projects. These projects will be managed privately by asset managers that are private entities, and they will do this in partnership with public and private sector participants to provide a long and attractive investment returns that are required not just in terms of financial returns, but also in terms of social impact. So, in summary, the vehicle, Infracorp, is a dedicated vehicle to unlock and enable development infrastructure. It is a catalyst to unlock private capital by leveraging local and international pools of capital. And finally, it is an enabler for economic growth and development by driving local capacity building, inclusive growth, and development with impact. Very carefully selected words to drive the vision and to drive the mandate that the promoters and the board have been mandated by Mr. President to drive. Now, there have been quite a few achievements over the last 18 months. Number one, given the milestone that we're witnessing today, the timesheet itself embodies the set of relationships and the partnership that is going to exist between Infracorp and the asset managers. It is inclusive of the division of responsibilities. It clearly states what the rights and responsibilities of each parties will be, and it defines the operating rhythm between Infracorp and the asset managers, as well as it defines the governance structure by which we're going to execute the mandate of Mr. President as nurtured by the promoters.
Supporting and enabling the fund managers to mobilize fundraising and investments of projects across the critical focus sectors, including energy, industrial, agricultural, telecommunications, technology, transport, logistics, and social infrastructure. Infracore will operate from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja, and the commercial hub, Lagos.
North, South, East or West, male or female, old school or millennial, rural or urban, the Naira is the same, and so is the e-Naira. The e-Naira is a legal tender issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So, let's embrace it. The e-Naira will foster financial inclusion, improve access to credit, facilitate cross-border remittances, and it's easier to transfer. E-Naira, same Naira, more possibilities. This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN.
Thanks for staying tuned, and if you're just joining us, you're watching From the CBN, a weekly program that brings to you reports and expert analysis of the actions, policies, and economic initiatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Last week, we brought to you excerpt of the CBN Seminar for Finance Correspondents and Business Editors, held recently in Akure, the Ondo State capital, and we promise to bring you more excerpts this week. Now, here is the colloquium featuring seasoned economists and financial analysts in the country, speaking on addressing the foreign exchange question in Nigeria.
Why is it important that we address the issue of foreign exchange question in Nigeria?
The central bank over the years, from the time that exchange control was abolished, 1986, till date, has been working on various management strategies. The only thing is, the question is, why are those things not very effective? And they are not seen to be sustainable. They are always tinkered and changed from time to time. Started with the Stabilization Act in 1982. Then in 1986, when the second tier foreign exchange market was introduced, it has been one program or the other. So there is just no way we will jettison the idea of really managing as it is our foreign exchange earnings and utilization.
Let me go straight first to Professor Ken Ife. Now, I want you to talk to us, and I think he's mentioned a bit about import, what they call the economics of an exchange rate for any country, and whether it is Nigeria or United States or Egypt or whatever. What are the economics of an exchange rate? Let's leave the market side first.
Thank you very much, Boasin. Well, when you talk about economics, the first thing that comes in relation to price, the first thing that comes to you is demand and supply. That's the main thing that begins the discussion on the economics of things. And it's very important that we focus on the foreign exchange component, because foreign exchange seems to be, it looks at Nigeria in relation to the external world. But it is just one of the mechanisms, one of the price stability mechanisms. You talk about inflation, which is a major one. You talk about foreign exchange, you talk about lending rates, MPR rates. All of these are prices, things that indicate price. But the one that hits us the most is what happens with foreign exchange. And what I would say is that because you're looking at demand and supply, what we see on foreign exchange is divergence. I can't see the meeting point of the demand and that of supply. You remember the presentation of Professor Badu, that in 2014, we were earning, CBN was getting $3.2 billion every month, and it went down to $1 billion. While at the same time, the request for Forex was $4.6 billion. So they were nowhere near. So it was just managing. You were managing because they were close. And now when one was $1 billion, the other one was $4.6 billion, we saw red with our eyes because there was no correspondence between those. So the whole discussion about price stability, let's keep the other elements of price. The whole discussion about forex stability is how do we make sure that things related to the earning of forex can come into correspondence with things relating to export that earns you forex. They are divergent. They are not even convergent in any way. So what we are actually managing, we are managing poverty. We are nowhere near managing wealth. So it's difficult for me to reflect on anything beyond that. We are managing poverty.
Dr. Tokwe Fasho, you have the microphone. I'm sticking with the question of the economics of foreign exchange. Let's deal with that from your point of view.
You see, the question you have asked is a question for the ages. I'm going to be saying some things now, and I think what needs to be said is that there are some things they don't teach you, not even in Harvard Business School. And there are some things nationally that you have to figure out for yourself. Like you have said, Why are we bothered about the exchange rate, about the naira, the value of the currency? Where is this thing all coming out from? So, Margaret Thatcher in 1981, Margaret Thatcher was speaking to a few British businessmen in Singapore. And she echoed Joseph Stalin, the former Soviet leader. She said that to destroy a country, the first thing you do is to debauch its currency. To destroy a country, you first debauch its currency. That tells you how important the currency of a country is. Okay? I did a study of the history of currencies. When the debate of this, what do we do with the naira? Do we float it? Do we not? I had to do a short history of the history of currencies. I realized that no country comes forward, and by the time they're creating the currency, they create a weak currency. Every country on earth has a strong currency. The Chinese renminbi, which sells for about 7-8 to the dollar now, started strong at 1-to-1. The Japanese yen started at 1-to-1 to the strongest currency in the world, the pound then. It was because of the defeat of Japan with Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the currency fell to about 600 yen to $1 before it started to come back strong. Today, it's around 130 or thereabout. If your currency is rubbish, you're finished as a country. So, the thing about foreign exchange, and I think that unfortunately we have not, perhaps until today, looked at our problem in perspective. I say, what kind of problem do we have? And I'll tell you what kind of problem we have. As Professor Ife just said, why is it that this foreign exchange is so important to us? Everything in this room has foreign exchange component. I mean everything. Even Mr. Johnson, my friend, and Professor Ken Ife, very native now. The machine that was used to sew this thing was important.
Yes.
You see this water inside, this water, I'm not talking of the plastic, the PET bottle, which was of course imported. They import this thing in prefab or something. They now blow it up and all of that. The water inside has foreign exchange component. Because if you go to water works or wherever this comes, or from a borehole in the ground, where is the machine coming from? I kid you not, everything, even some of the human beings inside this place, they are important. Foreign exchange components inside them, some of them are Jabata, born abroad and all of that. But aside from that, the computer you use, the carpet on this floor, the shoe I'm wearing, the camera that's looking at me, the clothes on the side of it, all of it has import component, which tells you there's trouble. Serious trouble, okay? So, there's FX in everything we use, including education. The study, even in the village school today, they use paper. The teacher, in the village school, even those who are studying under the tree, the teacher needs some paper, or a chalk, or a board, in order to teach them. And so you now begin to say, okay, why are we not producing any of these things ourselves? Which is where it's at. Because again, as Mr. Bosin said, listen, do you wait to be gifted the currency, the money, the value, or do you do something in order to earn the money? So you have to do something. You have to do something. You now say, okay, what are we doing? And how come we cannot say, okay, this thing is wholly made in Nigeria? Even the farm products that we consume, the farmer has to go there, he needs a hoe or a cutlass, the basicest of things. But he needs a car or a bus or a bicycle to transport those things back. Foreign exchange element. So I think if we look at this, we'll be sobered. And we now realize that, look, what exactly have we done? And how can we do it? 73 years ago, we formed the University of Ibadan. So let's assume that, okay, up to secondary school, the education is still a bit basic and all of that. But we've been having graduates since at least 69 years ago. What have we done with that? What are we producing? Is there a space for patriotism?
That's all from the CBN this week. Report on resolved banking issues to the CBN Consumer Protection Department using the email address cpd@cbn.gov.ng. Attach relevant documents. Call the CBN contact center on the phone line +234 700 2255 226. Local call rates may apply. Send your inquiries and comments to the dedicated email address fromthecbn@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter for updates and uploaded episodes of the program. We invite you to join us again next time. I'm William Dada. Stay safe and bye for now.